Telling you guys, when I say that my forehead is raw from changing all these wigs, raw, 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 raw. And yeah, thank you for the witnesses and thank you for everybody that just took their time.
Samani, are you disappointed with the verdict?
Not at all. I don't think that it reflects the truth, but I'm not disappointed. We know that the justice system is sometimes flawed, and unfortunately, that was the case for me. I think we fought a good fight, but like I said, more importantly, it's about accountability. I had my day in court. I showed up. I held my head high, and I can walk away and say that I showed up, and she had to look me in the eye. I had to look her in the eye.
Feel about how the defendant conducted herself in court?
I thought it was totally unprofessional. I think it showed volume to her character, the type of person that she is. A lot of her body language, her body gestures, her facial expressions, her disrespect for the court, I think speaks to who she is. I think we saw how I conducted myself during this trial, and I think that speaks volume.
You know what's more entertaining than watching someone lose a $24 million lawsuit? Watching them convince themselves they actually won. Because apparently when 12 jurors unanimously reject every single one of your claims in less than an hour, that's just the justice system being flawed. We just witnessed one of the most satisfying legal beatdowns in recent memory. And instead of accepting reality, Imani Ellis doubled down on delusion with a post-trial interview that had me questioning whether she understood what the word unanimous means. But here's what nobody's talking about while they're laughing at the audacity. This wasn't just a courtroom victory for Cardi B. It was a masterclass in how grace under pressure completely destroys your opponent's credibility. And trust me, what Ellis said after losing might be even more damaging to her reputation than anything that happened during the actual trial. I'm about to break down the most delusional post-trial interviews I've ever witnessed, explain why Ellis's threat to appeal is basically legal comedy, and show you exactly how Cardi B just became the blueprint for handling frivolous celebrity lawsuits. But buckle up, because the level of self-deception we're about to explore is so profound, it makes reality TV look grounded in facts. Before we dive into this psychological study of denial, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're spilling tea that's so hot, it might actually wake Ellis up from whatever alternate reality she's been living in for the past 7 years. Though honestly, I'm not holding my breath. The moment those courthouse doors opened, we got to see the true character of both women involved in this legal circus. And the contrast was more stark than Ellis's testimony contradictions. Cardi B walked out victorious but humble. Despite being completely exonerated, despite having her character assassinated for days, despite missing her children's milestones for this nonsense, she chose grace.
Swear to God, I will say it in my deathbed. I did not touch that woman. I did not touch that girl. I didn't lay my hands on that girl.
She stated with the kind of conviction that only comes from telling the truth. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of using her vindication as a weapon, Cardi immediately pivoted to protecting Ellis from online harassment.
I do also want fans at home, though, not to find their social media, her family's social media, her social media, and bother her. I hope that this is something that I leave behind, that she leave behind. Don't go bother her. Don't be talking about her. Don't be talking about how she look. Don't call her no nasty names. Let's just put this behind.
This is the same woman Ellis claimed was violent and unhinged, now literally protecting her from the consequences of her own actions. The irony is so thick you could cut it with one of Cardi's allegedly dangerous acrylic nails. Meanwhile, Ellis stepped up to those same microphones with the kind of cognitive dissonance that should be studied in psychology textbooks. When asked about her feelings regarding the unanimous verdict, she responded, "I don't think that it reflects the truth, but I'm not disappointed." We know that the justice system is sometimes flawed, and unfortunately, that was the case for me. Let that sink in for a moment. 12 people listened to all the evidence, heard from multiple witnesses, examined expert testimony, and unanimously concluded she was lying. But according to Ellis, they're all wrong. The justice system is flawed. Everyone else is the problem. This is the same person who couldn't keep her story straight about which part of her face was allegedly scratched, whose own expert witness proved she was lying about how the injury occurred, and who admitted to taking a nap after this supposedly traumatic assault. But sure, the unanimous jury verdict doesn't reflect the truth. Ellis's post-trial interview reads like a masterclass in how not to handle defeat. When given the opportunity to show some dignity, maybe acknowledge that the jury saw something she didn't, or at least express some understanding of how the evidence looked from an outside perspective, she chose to double down on delusion.
For me, like I said, I still stand firm on my position. I still stand firm on my attorney. I think we fought a good fight, but like I said, more importantly, it's about accountability.
She declared, as if standing firm on a position that just got unanimously rejected by a jury somehow makes it more credible. It's like insisting the Earth is flat after watching a rocket launch from space. But the most telling moment came when she was asked if she was sorry she brought the case.
Are you sorry you brought the case in retrospect?
Not at all. Not at all.
She responded, without hesitation. This woman just put the court system through years of proceedings, wasted taxpayer money, dragged Cardi away from her children for a case with zero evidence, and she has no regrets whatsoever. The reporter pressed further about Cardi's gracious request that fans leave Ellis alone, asking if that meant anything to her. Ellis's response was peak delusion.
Miss Ellis, Cardi did ask that the public please leave you alone, not slander you, say things behind your back on social media. Does that mean anything to you?
That's news to me. She's never told me that. She's never even offered me an apology. So I'm not sure.
An apology. She wants an apology from the woman she just unsuccessfully sued for $24 million based on fabricated claims. The woman who just got completely vindicated by a unanimous jury verdict should apparently apologize to her false accuser. The mental gymnastics required to reach that conclusion deserve an Olympic medal. If Ellis's interview was delusional, her attorney Ron Rosenjohn Faza's performance was straight up embarrassing. This man just suffered one of the most humiliating courtroom defeats in recent memory, and instead of taking responsibility for bringing a meritless case, he decided to blame everyone else. His post-trial strategy apparently involved attacking Cardi for the pen-throwing incident outside the courthouse.
I disagree with the verdict. As you know, you can see from Cardi B, she has a history of doing these things. Even today in the courthouse, right in where I'm standing in this area, she threw something at one of you, and I think that's just, very poor judgment on her part to go ahead and do something like that here in the courthouse. This is a court. You don't do this. It's wrong, and she really, made a fool of herself, in my opinion.
This is the same man whose client just lost a unanimous verdict, and he's trying to salvage his reputation by criticizing how Cardi responded to inappropriate questions about paternity and pregnancy rumors. The reporter who asked those questions was completely out of line.
Cardi, insiders are claiming that Offset is publicly bragging about getting you pregnant for the 4th time. Do you foresee any paternity issues with Stephon Diggs?
But apparently Feza thinks defending yourself against harassment is worse than filing frivolous lawsuits. When asked about the basis for an appeal, Feza gave perhaps the most telling response of the entire post-trial circus.
With a unanimous verdict, what is the basis for an appeal? Would it be a factual error, something that the judge did wrong? What would the basis be for an appeal?
Well, there's many different things that occurred. I can't really get into the details now. That would be for the appellate attorney that I work with, who's going to be handling that with me, and we will decide how we're going to handle it.
Translation: I have absolutely no legal basis for an appeal, but I need to say something to justify why my client is about to throw more money at this lost cause. The fact that he can't articulate a single specific grounds for appeal tells you everything you need to know about how strong this case actually was. Real lawyers with real appeals can usually explain their legal theory in clear terms. Desperate attorneys grasping for straws give vague non-answers about many different things. Let's talk about the elephant in the room that nobody's addressing. Ellis is apparently planning to appeal this unanimous verdict, which raises some fascinating questions about her financial situation and decision-making process. Appeals are expensive. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, court costs, and other expenses. This is for a case that just got rejected so thoroughly that 12 jurors needed less than an hour to unanimously conclude she was lying. What exactly is Ellis's financial strategy here? If she's been working as a security guard and then a social worker, where is she getting the money for this legal crusade? Is someone else funding this lawsuit? Because normal people don't typically have the resources to pursue multi-year litigation against celebrities unless there's some external financial backing. The timeline is also suspicious. She waited 2 years after the incident to file the original lawsuit, right when Cardi was at peak success and maximum wealth. Now she wants to appeal immediately after losing unanimously. That suggests this was never really about justice or accountability. It was always about finding a way to extract money from a successful celebrity. But here's what really gets me. If I were a bar-certified attorney looking at this case, I would run in the opposite direction so fast I'd leave cartoon dust clouds. What self-respecting lawyer wants to be associated with appealing a unanimous verdict in a case this weak? The legal community is small, and reputations matter. Taking on Ellis's appeal is basically volunteering to have your name attached to one of the most obviously frivolous celebrity lawsuits in recent memory. Since Ellis is apparently determined to continue this legal comedy show, let me explain exactly what she's up against in the appeals process. And trust me, it's not going to be pretty. Civil appeals aren't do-overs. You can't just say, "We didn't like the verdict," and get another trial. Appeals courts only review whether the lower court made legal errors that affected the outcome. They don't re-examine evidence or make new factual determinations. So what exactly is Ellis going to argue on appeal? That the judge made some reversible error in allowing the jury to hear testimony from the doctor and receptionist who witnessed the incident? That there was some procedural mistake that somehow invalidated 12 people's unanimous conclusion that she was lying? The standard for overturning a jury verdict is incredibly high, especially in civil cases. Ellis would need to prove that no reasonable jury could have reached this conclusion based on the evidence presented. But we're talking about a case where her own expert witness contradicted her story, where independent witnesses disputed her version of events, and where she couldn't even keep her basic facts straight. What new evidence is magically going to appear that wasn't available during the original trial? Is Ellis going to suddenly remember some crucial detail that somehow escaped her during years of depositions and testimony? Are there secret witnesses who have been hiding for 7 years just waiting for the appeal? The appeals court doesn't care about Ellis's feelings or her interpretation of what happened. They care about legal standards and procedural correctness. And from everything we've seen, this trial was conducted properly, with competent legal representation on both sides. The jury was presented with evidence, they evaluated credibility, and they reached a unanimous conclusion. Even if Ellis somehow managed to win an appeal on technical grounds, all that would do is send the case back for another trial. And guess what? All the same evidence that convinced 12 jurors she was lying would still be there. Her story would still be inconsistent. The expert testimony would still contradict her claims. The independent witnesses would still dispute her version of events. But here's what really gets me fired up about this appeal threat. We're talking about another massive waste of taxpayer dollars for a case that's already been thoroughly litigated and unanimously rejected. Court time, judges' salaries, bailiffs, court reporters, administrative costs, all of it funded by the public, so Ellis can continue her personal vendetta against reality. The original trial already cost taxpayers thousands of dollars in court resources. Now she wants to drag the appeals court into this delusion, forcing them to review a case where 12 jurors needed less than an hour to see through her lies. That's judicial resources that could be used for legitimate legal disputes, real appeals with actual merit, cases that deserve court attention. Instead, we'll have appeals judges wasting time reading through transcripts of a case where the plaintiff couldn't even keep her story straight about which part of her face was allegedly scratched. Taxpayers will fund the administrative costs, while Ellis pursues what amounts to a legal temper tantrum disguised as appellate procedure. What we're witnessing with Ellis's post-trial behavior is a fascinating psychological phenomenon. Instead of accepting the reality of a unanimous jury verdict, she's chosen to construct an alternative narrative where everyone else is wrong and she's the victim of a flawed system. But here's what's really troubling about this mindset. Ellis is apparently planning to go to law school.
Ms. Ellis, what's next for you?
I'm going to law school.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you. I
Did this
appreciate that.
case prompt you to decide to go to law school?
I had already had plans on going to law school, but I think during this case, it kind of amplified a lot of those dreams.
She wants to become an attorney. This is someone who just demonstrated a fundamental inability to accept legal processes and outcomes when they don't go her way. She's shown that she's willing to waste court resources on meritless claims and then blame the system when her delusional case gets rejected. Do we really need more lawyers who think the justice system is only valid when it produces the results they want? While Ellis was busy constructing her alternative reality, Cardi B was demonstrating the kind of strategic thinking that separates successful people from perpetual victims. Her post-trial interview wasn't just gracious, it was brilliant legal and public relations strategy. By immediately asking her fans to leave Ellis alone, Cardi positioned herself as the mature party, while highlighting Ellis's vindictive nature by contrast. She protected someone who had just tried to destroy her financially, showing the kind of character that Ellis's lawsuit claimed she lacked. But the real strategic masterstroke was her warning about future frivolous lawsuits.
With that being said, this time around, I'm gonna be nice. The next person that try to do a frivolous lawsuit against me, I'm going to countersue. And I'm gonna make you pay, because this is not okay. I think people have like this misinterpretations of celebrities, like it's like, oh, well, we could ask for this and they're gonna settle. You don't work at home and you don't work all day and you don't work for your money to give out your money. So don't ever think that I'm just gonna give you my money that I work hard for. I don't lay in bed all day, I work all day. And I work hard for my money for my kids and for people I take care of. So don't you ever think that you're gonna sue me and I'm just gonna settle and just give me my money. It's not gonna happen.
This wasn't just a threat, it was a public service announcement to anyone else considering shakedown lawsuits against successful celebrities. Cardi just proved that she's willing to fight these cases in court rather than settling quietly. She demonstrated that frivolous claims will be exposed and defeated, and she put potential opportunists on notice that there will be financial consequences for wasting her time and resources. The timing of this message, coming right after a unanimous vindication, gives it maximum credibility. This isn't empty posturing, it's a proven track record backed by courtroom victories. Ellis's delusional post-trial behavior represents something bigger than just one person's inability to accept reality. It's a symptom of a culture where some people believe they're entitled to other people's success, where accountability is optional, and where victim status can be claimed regardless of evidence.
Do you feel like you've been painted in a bad light in the public?
I think from the defendant, yes. But that's what she's gonna do. She's gonna make me seem like a bad person. I know who I am. I know the things that I've accomplished. So that's all that matters to me.
You started out as a fan of her music. Are you still a fan today?
No,
Will you be listening to her new album? It drops in 6 days, she keeps saying.
not at all.
Ellis's refusal to accept this outcome, her threats to appeal a unanimous verdict, and her continued insistence that she's the real victim only reinforce how right the jury was to reject her claims completely. The real question now is whether Ellis will continue this legal comedy show through the appeals process, or whether someone in her life will finally convince her that 12 jurors might actually know something she doesn't. But based on her post-trial interviews, I'm not holding my breath for a sudden outbreak of self-awareness. What do you think? Is Ellis's refusal to accept a unanimous verdict the most delusional post-trial behavior you've ever seen? Or have you witnessed something even more disconnected from reality? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know if you think anyone will actually be brave enough to take on this hopeless appeal. The tea has been spilled, the truth has been revealed, and the delusion has been exposed. Sometimes that's all you can do when reality meets someone who's determined to live in an alternate universe of their own creation.